I've decided to begin a series of mini tutorials on how not to simp, how to refrain from simpage, from simpery, from simpitude. And I'm well aware that for some of my viewers this material is not interesting, and if it's not for you, then you don't have to watch it, of course. But it interests me enough, and it's something that I think is important enough of a topic to cover, believe it or not, even though it sounds silly, and it's a silly word, and it's something that a lot of jokes are made about these days, simping, who's the biggest simp, and so forth. I happen to think that it's an issue that is worthy of attention, and it's an issue that not only is worthy of attention, but that needs a great deal of attention, because there is such a dearth of men out there providing needful services to other men, to younger men, particularly men who are still learning the ropes, as it were. And do I think of myself as a father figure? No, not exactly. I am a father. I do have a son, so in that sense, I'm a father to a son. So I can say that there is something personal that animates my desire to go about doing this mini tutorial series. But in general, I think I have my own experiences to talk about, and these are things that I make reference to in various works that I have published, but which I've mentioned in the past. I've mentioned these works in the past on this channel. I also mentioned them on my old channel, but that channel is gone forever. Thanks, YouTube. But I don't care. I'm over it now. Anyway, yes, some masked zombies walking behind me. But I don't care. I'm going to keep on plugging away here. I want to just give an intro to this anti-simp series. This series of videos that I'm going to be recording on the subject of how to overcome being a simp. What I think the first important thing to know is that simping comes naturally, unfortunately. And, if we lived at a different time, there would be nothing particularly wrong with the simping impulse, provided that it were tempered by self-respect. So, for example, if you were if you were angling to court a lady, you would have to simp a little, but on the other hand, you would also have to do so in a way that didn't absolutely bring a hammer down on your self-respect and make you just seem like somebody who's got no dignity. And I think there was a way to do that in the past, but those days are gone. They're over. They've been wrecked. They've been destroyed with this brave new world that our so-called rulers have created. And what has become of courtship, what has become of marriage, what has become of male-female relations in this day and age makes it all the more imperative that one detect the simp within and crush the simp that lives inside of you. But I think the first thing to again acknowledge is that you have a simp inside of you, and it's there for a purpose. It's there. I'm not going to say, I'm not a, over millions of years of evolution. People just who talk that way. I don't think they're just attaching themselves to this manner of thinking, this whole so-called philosophy, which is really just a stab in the dark. You don't hear me talk about evolutionary psychology or anything evolution related. Not because I'm a young Earth person, but just because I think it's bunk to talk that way. I think you're always assuming the things that you are asserting when you talk about, oh, well, this became an adaptive strategy because of evolution. So when I say it comes naturally to us, I am not making reference to an evolutionary strategy, but I am saying it's a part of who we are. It's a part of how we were made, and it's something within us, and it's got a genetic component. It can be learned, of course, but just like you can learn all kinds of terrible habits, but first and foremost, primarily, I think it's there because biology put it there. So you see a nice looking lady, and you want to get her attention. You want her to notice you. You want her to you want to get in her world, and you want her to get in your world, and you want to win her over and make her yours, so that you can number one, be less lonely. Number two, have access to sex. Number three, impress your friends by showing that you are a man of status. These are all of the things that help to motivate a man towards simping. But they are all learned notions with a genetic component, yes, but they are all things that can be unlearned, because what must be acknowledged is that one's orientation is not the same thing as one's behavior. You can feel all kinds of ways. You can want all kinds of things. But feeling a certain way or wanting a certain thing isn't the same as succumbing to this proclivity to try to get this thing. So I would say the first important step in this process is to acknowledge that yes, you have a simp within you. You have that within you which hopes to impress, which hopes to receive validation, which wants to get attention, wants to get wants to win all of these goodies for oneself, and part of biology is the sexual drive, of course, but that's not the whole of it. As I said, there's also the desire for status, and there's also the desire for companionship. There's nothing wrong with the desire for companionship. There's nothing wrong with the desire for sex. There is something wrong with the desire to obtain status, but then again, I mean, in my belief system, I think you don't if you're a self-respecting person, you're not someone who angles for status or tools about looking for ways to to become a man of greater status. But at the same time, it is something that I think is built in. So all these things are built in. All of these desires are baked into the cake of our biology, and I would say it's a complicated matter, when we talk about what's right or wrong, what's good or bad, because I think the reason why we have to absolutely resolutely reject simpery today is because of the culture, because of the way that things have developed, and the way that we are inclined now to be, and how we've been set up for failure. Unless you are a winner of the genetic lottery, or unless you are somebody who already has good looks, money, power, status, those kinds of things, you're pretty much invisible. Now, this is an observation that the black pillars make, and I don't like the black pill philosophy. I decry it. I reject it for the most part. But this is one observation that they have that I think is true. That we are now, because female hypergamy has been allowed to run amok the way that it has, due to the social conditioning that's been brought about by those who are pulling the levers those who are pulling the strings. They are the ones who have seen to it that things have become this way. They are the ones who have contributed to a destructive feminism. I would distinguish a destructive feminism from maybe possibly a positive sort of attitude towards females, or towards femininity, a way that honors the feminine proclivities, the same way that the masculine proclivities are honored, or were honored in days past. But today, that simply isn't the case. The feminism of today is just, and the mainstream feminism of today is just rabidly anti-male, at the same time telling women that they are nothing, that they are nothing if they only want to be mothers, that they have to go out and get careers, and compete with men and defeat men at their own masculine game, and just absolutely show up men and make men feel totally emasculated, and laugh in their faces after you emasculate them. That's the kind of tone and tenor of feminism today. But it's not something that should be blamed on women. It's something that should be blamed on, it should be blamed on women who embrace it and who choose to embrace it. But first and foremost, it's something that ought to be blamed on those who have created these kinds of conditions, which are contrary to harmonious conditions between the sexes. So in an age like the one in which we live, in which harmonious conditions between the sexes are almost impossible, except, I shouldn't say that they're almost impossible, because there are certain pockets where these ideologies haven't touched, or haven't done as much harm. And if you can find one of those pockets that's more traditionalist in its mindset about the relationships between men and women, and masculinity and femininity, then great, good for you. On the other hand, there are a lot of landmines in your way, if that's what you're striving for, and you think you found someone who embodies that, and you want it, and your goal is just to win her over, to be validated by her, by simping, you might soon find that some of these sorts of women who say they embrace or say that they're into the trad kind of lifestyle, that maybe they're not quite as untouched by feminism as one would like to think. And so that is why, again, I'm not encouraging defeatism, but I am saying you have to keep your self-respect. And I think that is a very important thing to retain. And so, and when I'm talking to you, I'm talking also to myself. As someone who has been married, but whose marriage has failed, someone who's now aged and not likely going back to any of to any of that business again. Someone over the hill, as it were. I think I have something to contribute by looking back on my own experiences and seeing what sense and order can be made from the hash of things that were unfortunately the result of my my efforts. So anyway, I think this serves as a sort of introductory to this series that I'm going to do. I don't know how many videos I'm going to record on this subject, but again, anyone who's interested, feel free to listen, feel free to critique, feel free to do whatever, feel free not to listen if this isn't something that you find particularly interesting, of course. But I would imagine by now, if you were one of those sorts of people, you wouldn't be nearly 18 minutes in with me still listening to me talk about this. So there you go. This is my introductory video to this series on my anti-simp handbook. And I will record more soon. Thanks for watching. My name's Andy Nowicki. Check out my work at altrightnovelist.com.